to my channel. We're here today to review The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. I read this book to compare it to other books because I was judging the BookTube prize, and so I had to be a little picky. There were things that I had to say, well, this wasn't as good as that other book. But now that that's over, I just wanted to share my appreciation for Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. This is my first time reading anything by this author, and I definitely want to read all his other books. This is a thoroughly engrossing novel. It has a lot of the elements that you may look for in books. So this book gives Hero with a Thousand Faces kind of vibe. It is the story of a young man. I think he's about 18 or 19 years old. Does it say how old he is? I feel like he's about 19. He's 18. He's 18. The year is 18. The year is 1954, and Emmett is 18 years old. He's just come back from a stint in juvie. He went to juvenile delinquency because there was some trouble, and he was in jail for, I think, 18 months. Is that 15 months? Okay, so I don't have any of those numbers right, but the rest of the story, I know. Okay, so it's 1954. Emmett is 18 years old. He's just come back from spending 15 months in juvie. And during that period of time, his father has died, and he is now the guardian for his younger brother. Let me check. His brother is 8 years old. Yay, his brother is 8 years old. Billy is an 8-year-old kind of wonderkid. Billy is lovable. Billy is 8 and he's a reader. He's an avid reader and adventurer, and he just wants all the adventure all the time. So while Emmett has been away, Billy has been living and planning for this moment when his brother is going to come back and they're going to start their lives together. So Emmett comes back and he and Billy are planning to leave town. They're from Nebraska. Their mother has left. She is somewhere else. Their father has died. And so these young men decide that they are going to make their fortune. And Billy, like I said, he's a reader. He's an adventurer. He decides that he wants them to take the Lincoln Highway, which is a transcontinental route. I guess it was the first transcontinental route from one side of the country to the next. So it doesn't go exactly coast to coast. It starts in New York and it goes to California. But they're not in New York. They're in Nebraska. But along the way, their plans get a little railroaded. And that's a pun, because there's a railroad on here. There is some railroad activity, even though they have a car and they're going to get on the road and go wherever they're planning to go. Their plans get a little railroaded. 2 of Emmett's friends from his stint in juvie have arrived to join them on their travels. And so this is very road trip heavy. But it's not the road trip that Billy and Emmett think they're going to have. It is Emmett and Billy and Duchess and Wooly, and along the way, Sally. Sally, who would have been Emmett's love interest if this was a different kind of book, comes in, and she is knight in shining armor. She is also a little bit of love interest, because you couldn't have a book about teenage kids if you didn't have a little bit of what if. And so there's that. But Sally is also the voice of reason, the feminist reason, and she brings this presence to the book that is just like, she's there even when she's not there. Like, they think about her and they talk about her and the things that she does, which shows that she would be a domestic and feminine woman if she wanted to be. But Sally is very much about making her own plans, her own choices. And if you want to come along for that ride, well, why don't you? But if not, okay, that's fine too. Sally could definitely take care of herself. So I love Sally's character. I wish there was more of her, but we'll come back to that. So yeah, this book is road trip. It's young people making a way for themselves, away from family, away from some of the other things that would maybe keep people moored to one place. But did I say that this is Hero with a Thousand Faces? Yeah, because that's what it's really about. So it's Emmett and Billy. Did I mention? Emmett and Billy and their friends. And whether or not these are heroes or anti-heroes, and Sally a heroine or a hero, or is she the damsel in distress that somebody's going to rescue? No, never, not at any point. There's a lot of hero discussion in this book, and so we get a discussion of mythological, literary, and real life legends and people who are larger than life characters. And Billy has this book that he keeps referring to, and the author himself could be one of Billy's heroes. But we get a little bit of a discussion about who heroes are and what they mean in mythology and in history, but also what they mean in present time. So some people who come into these characters' lives bear the names of mythological legends, and we get to kind of think about what those situations, or how those situations could have been created in modern times. So we have like the Ulysses character. You know, Ulysses was the guy who was separated from his family and he was at war for a long period of time. And in modern 1950s, we get a Ulysses who is separated from his family because he went to go fight in World War II. And, you know, separation from family because of the social things that happened around World War II. So there's that. And man, there's just so much. There's 1950s Americana and American history. And because Billy is a kid, there's a little bit of a discussion about, the Count of Monte Cristo figures a lot in this book. But there's also discussion about whether you read the original version of a big book or an abridged version, how that changes how you relate to the story. So I thought I had a small copy, like an abridged version of the Count of Monte Cristo, but I don't. So I'll use 2 other books for reference because we have this big copy of Moby Dick, which, man, was on my TBR this year. That's not going to happen. But look how big this book is. It is, for reference, this is the Barnes & Noble edition. It's almost 700 pages. And then we have an abridged kid version of Moby Dick. So this is the original Moby Dick, Herman Melville. This is the younger kids abridged version, which is 170 pages, which is still long, but in like a little mashup of a book, a little discussion of those big books for kids, you would find a version where a lot of the story happens in a very short period. So there's a discussion. Billy is going through this book, exploring literature and exploring how literature is read and how it's experienced, how the length of the story impacts what you think of what happens, what you think of the plot. So, you know, if you've read The Count of Monte Cristo, which I haven't finished, where I've left off in The Count of Monte Cristo, the guy, Dante, is still in jail. But I do know that there's a point where he's no longer in jail. And in the discussion that Billy's having about this book, Dante's Dante's leaving. Yeah, let's use that word. Dante's leaving prison. His imprisonment and the end of his imprisonment kind of happens in one page. So that really impacts how you experience the story if you read the long version versus the short version, which is why I brought these. They were props. I don't know if that was very successful, but I'm saying that this book brings to mind some of those discussions about not just the characters, but also how storytelling itself impacts what we think of situations in literature, but also situations in our own lives. So there are lots of characters who come in and out of this book, and they reflect on, or cause us to reflect on, other characters, but also how we relate to those characters. Am I making sense? I hope so. So yeah, this book is fantastic. It is road trip. It is 1950s Americana. It is history. If you're a little bit of a history buff, you love this book. There's so much to love about this book. If you like smart kids, you love this book. Billy is kind of a precocious 8-year-old. He's really smart, but you know, you also feel along with him, you feel the emotions of this younger kid having like complete hero worship of his older brother, and you wonder whether or not his older brother can and will live up to that worship. And then you think about Billy writing the story of his older brother, and then you start to wonder, is Billy the hero? So this book gives us a lot of characters that we can reflect on, but also gives us an opportunity to see how we paint them, and if we are coloring these characters based on who we are and what we want of them. So yeah, lots to love about this book. Like I said, it is thoroughly engrossing. It does not have a smooth, everything tied up in a nice package at the end. There are some storylines that don't seem to get resolved, and even those that do get resolved kind of have an unsatisfactory end. Some of them, not all. But I really, really like this book. If you haven't read this book, I'm going to encourage you to pick it up. If you have read other things by this author and you want to chat about those and tell me which one I should read next, then let's chat in the comments about it. And yeah, that is my maybe not quite coherent review of The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles, but I love this. And so I'm hoping that by making this video and putting it out there that you will read it and that you love it too. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And let's chat in the comments. Let me know if you've read this book, if you love it. If you didn't, would love to hear that too. Would love to hear why you didn't love the book. If you didn't love it, then let's chat about why. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. And until we come back for another video, happy reading. Bye.